welcome. So, hey everyone, my name is Cristina Jerome. I work in brand partnerships and artist marketing at RnBae Collective. We do shows, we do events, we do create content for R&B artists. So if you guys are singers or work with singers, I'm definitely the girl for you guys to know.
Cristina, thank you so much for coming on today. I've been following what you guys have been doing with RnBae for a while now, and I just think it's as a fan of R&B music, I just thought it was a cool little niche that you've carved out for yourself and continuing to do so. So appreciate you coming on.
Of course. I feel like R&B, back when I started RnBae in 2016, it was a thing, but people really weren't paying attention to the genre as a whole. It was kind of just just looped in with rap. They would hire singers, to write the hook or be on the verse or whatever, but it wasn't an established thing. Like people were thinking of R&B as in 90s R&B, or thinking of Brian McKnight or Genuine or Jodeci, thinking that was the only type of R&B. But there's so much more, and the genre has transformed. So here we are in 2020 with, a lot more new subgenres to listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, but before we jump into everything, I definitely want to make sure that we're talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. I think it's something that's super important, especially in the music space, something that we need to keep kind of top of mind. So yeah, just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on everything that's been going around or been going on with the Black Lives Matter movement. Curious to see if you think that, the changes that we've seen thus far will, have a long-term impact. Who do you think has done a great job and really shown up and from speaking about brand partnerships specifically, which brands do you think have actually put their money where their mouth is and really are trying to implement change and things that you think are going to be long term? And then just any other thoughts that you kind of have around that, especially coming into the election next month.
Of course. Honestly, to be very honest with you and be very candid, I'm not impressed with anything that has not transpired yet. I feel like we put out lists of demands. We put exactly what we're looking for in terms of people of color and corporations. I think we've done a great job of outlining and calling out exactly what it is that needs to be changed. And since these corporations are so either complex, they don't care, or they feel like this is something that's going to blow over very quickly, they aren't looking to change. I will say I've seen a few companies like Uber, I've seen them go out and do a mass campaign with Black Lives Matter. I've also seen little things at Atlantic Records that have their Black music department instead of their urban music department. There's other labels that have decided to take out urban from I guess their dictionary. So I do see little things, but I'm not really seeing too many Black people and people of color in positions to make decisions. Now we're having all of these chief diversity officers and all of that, but these people aren't these are titles. So I just want to see more decisions being made in terms of understanding where we're coming from. But I do like that this is now becoming an outbreak. It's becoming a widespread national campaign, essentially. Now that people are starting to understand, hey, we are being mistreated. We are being unfairly punished. We are being unfairly judged when it comes to jobs. We're not given the same opportunities. I'm seeing this awareness. Now I just need to see the action happen. Yeah. So I'm cool. It's cool. It's a great start, but I'm not satisfied. We need a little bit more, just a little bit more things being done in terms of action rather than just saying and posting a black square.
For sure. So kind of in that same line of thought, are there any sort of smaller what's the word I'm looking for? Drawing a blank on it right now. But are there any other what is the word that I want to use? It's killing me now. Are there any sort of initiatives that may be smaller? Black Lives Matter is obviously the biggest one that we all know about, but are there other smaller initiatives that you've been, donating your time, money, or resources or energy behind? And if not, are there any that you just want to shout out other people that you think are really, putting, not just providing lip service, but actually getting things done?
Yeah, so I actually just want to draw everyone's attention, if you haven't already seen it, to The Show Must Be Paused. There's definitely an initiative that was started by two Black women that work in the music industry. I believe one is a Warner Music associate and the other one works at Atlantic. But these women have really been putting down the effort to create a structure of what companies should look like that include Black inclusion. So if you guys aren't following them on Instagram or Twitter, definitely that's someone that I've been spending so much time and just energy on that platform, just learning and realizing wow, this is really not how it should be. And you guys are doing what you guys can do to build that infrastructure from the inside out since they already work in these labels. So definitely the show must be paused.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And one thing I think needs to continue to be said is that to keep this top of mind, it's, it's something that everybody should really focus a little bit of time each week to donating time, energy, or resources to, right? Hey, if you don't have the money, a tweet definitely works. It's keeping it top of mind for you. It's keeping it top of mind for your followers. And I think that's important. It's not one tweet that is just like, hey, I did it and I support it. No, I'm on it. I think it's important to have these weekly conversations with ourselves to be like, hey, all right, is there anything new? Just a quick check-in. It doesn't need to be like an entire day. It can be 20, 30 minutes where you're just like, all right, am I supporting these things? Am I doing the research? Each week, unfortunately, there's new stories that are coming out of people being treated poorly. So it's like, hey, at least have an understanding of what is going on, why, and then, if there's anything you can provide further assistance to, that's where I think it makes sense for people to jump
that way
in.
It becomes a mindset and not a fad.
Exactly.
I feel like right now there's a lot of hashtags, there's a lot of trends, there's a lot of memes that are going out to make this not so much of a joke, but make light of it. It's not funny. This is like things that we have to go through every day. So making it a mindset, like you said, like a habitual thing, that really helps. So you start to get into that mindset, like, I'm going to recognize this when I see it as wrong, and this is what I'm going to do to fix it.
Right, exactly. It's not just tweeting it when your friends do it or
a repost
on Instagram. Right.
Let me just retweet this so people still think that Black Lives Matter. Like, no, Black lives are going to matter today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, next decade.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, I appreciate you taking some time to jump into that. I know it's a bit of a heavy topic to start, but something that needs to be right. Absolutely. Cool. So shifting gears a little bit now, kind of want to talk about your background, how you got into music. So yeah, let's start there. Tell me how, you got your start and how you found your way to, the marketing and branding side of things.
So I feel like right now it's like a luxury now, because a lot of kids are going to school you can go to school for like social media marketing now. And I think that's amazing. I actually went to school for general communications, and I had a really dope guidance counselor that allowed me to take whatever it is I wanted to take. I took TV, I took film, I took radio, I took music industry classes, kind of just like trying to find my footing of where I wanted to do, because I really didn't know. I started out wanting to be a newscaster. I wanted to be a news anchor, but I realized I couldn't read a teleprompter.
Yeah, right.
So it didn't work out for me. I ended up in radio. With radio, just as any teenager, I was like 19, 20 years old, always on my phone, doing what I can to stay popular on the internet. And they're like, hey, if you're going to tweet at work all day, at least, tweet for us, tweet for the station. So I was like, I can do that. I can get paid to tweet. So here I am running the radio station that I'm working with, their Twitter, and there's engagement. People are replying to me. People are like, oh, I love this song that you guys are playing now, or what's the number to win the contest? And I'm like doing customer service. I'm doing strategy. Like, it becomes a whole thing. And I'm just like, wow, I'm actually snapping. Like, I'm actually doing good at this. Obviously at a radio station, if you guys don't know, the secret's out, they don't make much money. I was making a solid $10 an hour. There's no way that I was going to be able to make rent and all my bills off of that. I ended up pivoting just into marketing in general. It's like, hey, if I can run a Twitter account, I can run a Facebook. I know what a brand identity is supposed to look at. I'm doing it. So to be honest with you, I kind of just like picked the things up as I go. I understood a consumer because I was one, and became that persona. I started to just study strategy. I started to study events, study like how people consume content and how to get people to buy things. And it literally just became a mind thing. I started in social media, ended up in digital marketing, ended up in events. I was at a small agency for a while. And now I feel like my love and my passion is brand partnerships, because like, I don't want to pay for things. Brands have money. So like, why would I pay for things? Allow brands to pay for things. And I just love how making things make sense, like making things make sense in sense. So when I see amazing brand partnerships, like when I saw the H&M collabs, I think that are always amazing. McDonald's always has some really cool ones. Like Nike always does some really cool ones. I started to realize like that's where I wanted to be. So here I am doing brand partnerships for RnBae. We've worked with festivals, we worked with liquor brands, we worked with product-based brands. It's just fun seeing artists be a little bit more than their music. Like once you drop your song, that's cool or whatever, but there's other assets, there's merchandise, there's brand partnerships, there's touring, there's so other many facets to music. And I just felt like the shelf life of an artist is much longer with me doing brand partnerships. So
Yeah.
that's why I fell in love with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. You had mentioned being able to work with a number of brands. Up to this point, you guys have been able to work with people like Atlantic Records, Red Bull. You worked with Vashtie for a while as well. Which one of those projects or campaigns was the most fun, and why?
I would say my most fun campaigns are always the one with Red Bull because the sky is the limit with them. Like they really understand innovation and creativity. And I obviously think, you know, no one is going to reinvent the wheel. Like the point is to continue to innovate it. So I love working with Red Bull. With them, we're able to create, I created a series called The Basics. So get it like RnBae basics, the basics. So it's like the basics of whatever it is that we're talking about, how to get booked on a show, how to get on the radio, how to get blogs to write about you. We created the series around it, and Red Bull, they pay for it. And it wasn't just like, oh, like they're paid for, you got your stuff paid for, it's great. No, they're really invested in the fact that I wanted to invest in artist education. So I'll always be grateful for being a Red Bull partner. They definitely look out for the creatives and the innovators of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I kind of want to shift gears a little bit, talk about get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty of things, get your take on a number of things here. But, you know, being that RnBae is on a live event, kind of hiatus, what are you doing in the meantime to, continue to build a relationship with your audience and fans?
To be honest with you, I took a very long time to just take a step back and realize, like, what can I do? I see a lot of Instagram lives. I see a lot of panels. I see a lot of Zoom. I see a lot of this. So for the first 4 or 5 months of the pandemic, we really did nothing but continue to create and artist awareness and just create content. Like, hey, have you heard of this artist? Hey, have you heard of this artist? Hey, we're doing this over here. I literally continue just to bring artist awareness. Now we've shifted into creative content because I can kind of see like where this is going now. Like now that the year is almost over, I can kind of see where it's going. Right. So we started to create digital platforms for performances. We had a digital festival. We now have a show called Behind the Bay where I'm interviewing artists. We've actually been picked up to another platform where we're able to have a bigger concert that is going to be monthly. So I'm able to see like where we can adapt and where we can use technology to best fit us, even though we're not going to get that same experience because live shows are inevitable. Like nothing's going to beat a live show, but and we're figuring it out.
There you go. Kind of again in that same line of thought, what are your views on creating content? Why do you think it's important, and what do you think the overall purpose of it is from a brand perspective?
I think right now, we've always created content and we just didn't think about it in the same perspective as we do now. Now we're creating content to tell a story, to bring awareness to something, to have a message. And I think brands need to continue to create content and create different types of content, because without that, you're not going to have that same relevance because you don't have that outside or word of mouth marketing anymore. Now you have to create this content. So when you're thinking about content, you have to think who you're talking to, who you're targeting, what are you selling, what aren't you selling, what are you trying to avoid? So I just think that we've always thought about this, but now I think it's with a little bit more intention. Like, yeah, we're going to post this infographic on this Tuesday to remind people to vote because that's what we should be doing. It's more of intention and tie it back to the brand. So I think it's just a little bit more intentional now, not just so much fluff or like, let's put something on Instagram today. Like now it's a little bit more strategic.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I want to call it there too that I think really hit hard. You said it earlier when you were talking about the radio station, how you first got started. You realized that you were a consumer. So you started with yourself to be like, hey, what do I like? What do I care about? And I think a lot of times, especially with young artists, they don't necessarily think like that. They're like, hey, I make great music and this is it. It's like, yes, but you're also a consumer. And like, how are you consuming things? Do people want to consume your music this way? That's kind of the next level of things. Like, and then once you start thinking about that, that helps you inform, or that just puts you in a better position to create better content for the end result, which is like, hey, I know people like this 15-second video as opposed to a 2-minute long video. Right. Then that helps increase your engagement and your following, so that eventually you can kind of bring these people more into your world. So to that point, I think that makes a lot of sense. The other point that you hit on too, and I think Questlove said this in his creative book, when trying to figure out what type of content to create, because that's also very hard to do in and of itself, right? Because there's so many different things out there. You start at the end. Start with like what you don't want to do. Be like, hey, I don't want to do this. Then it's like, cool, all this stuff just gets removed and you don't even have to think about that.
Exactly.
And you just said it a second ago. And so I wanted to call that out because I think that's a really, really big point that a lot of people don't think about. And you get overwhelmed with all this stuff. You're like, oh my God, I got to do this, this, and this. It's like, well, if you don't know what you want to do, start with what you don't want to do.
Exactly.
And build off of that. So again, I just wanted to highlight that. Curious your thoughts on, I asked this question a lot to, a lot of brand partnerships people, a lot of marketing people that I have on, but I think it's super important and interesting to get a number of people's takes on it. But, what are your thoughts on email marketing versus social media marketing?
I don't understand why people are not so much into it. And it's just like, I love email marketing. I became a MailChimp whiz. I'll tell you this short story. I was working at a small agency where I was in charge of the email list. I didn't care for it. I thought it was the most mundane task on my things of list to do. But I half-assed it, to be very honest with you. There were a lot of typos. And one day she called me out. She's like, bro, there's so many typos on this. And this is going out to hundreds of thousands of people. And it's going directly to them. It's going right to, they're not going to miss it. They're going to open their email and they're going to see it. And you jacked it up. And I'm just like, oh no. Oh.
Yeah.
But then I started to realize you're right. So although your social media marketing, and at this point with the algorithm, it's discussing how much you could target and track these people. But when you're email marketing, these people signed up for your email list. So they're genuinely interested in your content. They actually care enough to give you your email. You're giving them a direct contact. So this is like having someone's phone number. You're literally calling them every time you send an email. It's going straight to them. You're not missing. Again, you don't have to worry about an algorithm. You don't have to worry about the time of day or you don't have to worry about that. It's a direct contact to your consumer. So I'm not really sure why people don't spend so much time on it. I'm an email girl. I love it. I have a weekly email blast that I send out and people read it. And I do social media marketing as well, but it's just kind of why miss the opportunity to directly hit your target every single time?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think we take advantage of it we take it for granted because we've just had it for so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone looks at it as a utility, oh, that's your water bill. I don't read my water bill statement, you know what I mean? Or your electricity, you just auto pay it.
Right.
But you look at those, engagement numbers, even a poor email list is still going to get 20% open rates, 20%.
Right. And that's good. That's a great open rate.
Right.
Great.
And then you compare, and if you have a really, really good one, you're looking at, between 30 and 40. And those are really, really strong numbers, right? It means people care about what you're doing. Whereas you go on social media and you're chasing the algorithm. And at best, you're getting 2%. 2%.
You're trying to be smarter than something that has been written to be smarter than you. And you're not going to outsmart it because they're going to keep rewriting and they're going to keep recalibrating and they're going to redo it until it hits, these target markets of people that you want, that you're paying for essentially. But again, you have these people's phone number. You have these people's email address. Hit them up.
Exactly. It's about ownership of the relationship and stop continuing to pay Facebook and Instagram if you don't have the money. If you do, yes, and you're trying to grow, there's an absolute need for that. But also, if you don't, a great way to start is building up an amazing email list and going back to what we were talking about before, providing valuable content to your audience that they actually care about. That's going to help inform their lives or make them feel good, or it needs to be of substance and value. I think that's just,
it's also a trust thing too, because now consumers are getting smarter. Artists are getting smarter. They know that you're scamming them. They know it's an ad. They know it's hashtag sponsored. So if you're able to create a trust between you and a customer, I'm going to go to Chris for a consultation because I know that she knows what she's talking about, versus an ad saying, you can't fix your social media, let me help you. That's not as genuine. It's not as trustworthy. You don't know that person. So
exactly. Now that, and that kind of hits on something too, now that artists are really brands, right? How do you think they can add value to their fans' lives right now? You just talked about it a second ago. Everyone is kind of up on game, sending an email saying, hey, I have a new single. It's that's not good enough anymore, right? You want that information in there, but You got to really bring the value to a fan and a consumer. So, how do you think artists can actually do that in the pandemic age?
I think right now we're seeing a lot of personalities from artists that we've never seen before. At times in working with marketing, a lot of times we did the work between the A&R team making the music and making it sound on trend, and then the marketing team getting it to the right person. We did a lot of work for the artists, so we didn't have to see them, their personality. So right now, because they're bored and they have nothing else to do, they're forced to show us their personality, and that's what I like to see in my email blast or my content from artists. Like, yeah, you have a new single, I'm going to listen to it eventually. I don't really care. I know that's your product, but like, what did you eat today? Like, what did you do today? Well, how was your day? Tell me about something about you that's going to make me relate to you and empathize with you and make me be like, okay, I see myself into you. And that's what's going to make me buy your product or listen to your music even more. And it's like, Summer Walker became my homegirl. Throughout this whole pandemic, me and Summer Walker are best friends now.
Yeah, right.
Like, this girl was such, very shy, very to herself. And now I just see so much of her personality that we're besties. And now I have no problem putting on her music, buying her merch, et cetera, et cetera. So I think right now we're seeing a lot more artist personality. And I think that's what's really working for them. People are starting to decide like, oh, I like this person as a person, and not so much like, oh, I think I know them through their music. I like him because he tells funny jokes on Instagram Live on Thursdays. Like that's what we're starting. And I love that. I personally love that. I'm starting to get to know people that I didn't know before.
It goes back to what you were saying, trust, right? In order to get trust, you have to give it up. And if you are being honest with who you are and putting that out into the world, good things happen. And the right people will be attracted to you. And then, they'll reciprocate in kind, right? Listen to your music, buy your merch, share all your stuff. And it's super, super important. Another thing I want to talk about too, dealing with artists specifically, is playlists. You spent time building a playlist for your own brands. Do you think there's value in that for artists as well? Like an artist building up their own, personal playlist to, share with their fans?
That is personal advice that I literally just gave on a consultation last week. I promise you, because again, it builds to the story. It builds to likeliness. It builds to personality. It makes me also realize that you listen to other music or you have other tastes than yourselves. I will say, speaking to a lot of independent artists, I'm like, well, who are you listening to? Are you listening to the radio? Like, are you paying attention? No, not really. I just put out this new track and I love it. Or I just recorded this last night. It's my new favorite song. Like, I want to know, what else are you listening to? So I love going to Spotify and seeing like the artist pick up their playlist. And I believe it's Flo Milli that has it's like her playlist is called like something like Bad Bitch Mix or something like that. And I'm just like, yes, like I want to see what's on your mix. And it's like her, Megan, like a bunch of like upbeat music that sounds generally like her. So if you're thinking like a marketer, like I usually do, that's smart. I'm into women that are like rapping about braggadocious like topics, and like they're owning their personality, they're owning their sexuality, they're owning their blackness. Like that becomes a good marketing tool for them, because not only are they listening to your music or their music, you get to be put onto other artists as well. And then that triggers the algorithm and it goes down this wormhole of like, but that's definitely a tactic. Please make a playlist. I would love to hear what you're listening to.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it's another part to your point about showing the personality, because you didn't come up with that song from nothing. Like something inspired you, a picture, a video, a conversation, a song, right? And the platforms that we have available are just extensions of that. And so if you have a new song that's out, don't just post the song. Do it behind the scenes, talk about the inspiration, share some artwork. And hey, you don't want to share it in feed, fine, don't. Share it on your stories. Like all of that stuff just helps to build the personality, build the connection with the fan, build that trust.
And that's why I have my show, Behind the Bae, because I notice a lot of the interviews are very informative, very surface level. Like we get into it. Like, why did you write this song? Who was it about? Who broke your heart? Like who is he? Do we need to pull up? Like literally, these are the conversations that I'm having with these artists, and it's getting them to like come out like, well, yeah, I wrote the song when I was sad and XYZ. Like you don't get to see that when they put out the song. It's just like, listen to my new song.
Yeah, it's just right. Exactly. Yeah, agreed. Another playlist question for you, but what do you think is a common misconception when it comes to trying to get on third-party playlists? So not a Spotify playlist or, your own playlist, but trying to get on, someone else's, trying to get on an RnBae playlist.
One thing I will say, my playlists are very curated, and I know exactly what I'm looking for. So when it comes to submissions, I will say that I'm not likely to go through them just because I know exactly what I'm looking for, and people aren't sending me that. Artists are artists. They're looking for opportunities. So whatever playlist opportunity they can submit for, they do it. I would say it benefits. I think a misconception, I would say, that people think that me putting you on a playlist or anyone putting you on a playlist is going to blow up your fan base. Playlisting, to me, just as a marketing wise, has noticed that that's been the slowest build to a fan. I mean, like a true fan. Just because I'm listening to your one song and I heard it, I may have heard some, like, the hook, and I might have liked it, but I don't know the song title because it's playing on my speaker. It doesn't announce the artist name or anything like that. So I just listen to the song and it passes me by. Or I listen to that one song and that's it. I don't know that you have other songs because that's kind of it. I don't go from Spotify to go to your Instagram or follow you on Twitter. It's kind of just like, I heard your song and that's it. And I think people think that if you're not on playlist, you're not going to blow up. And it's not really like where your true super fans are coming from these playlists. They didn't hear you on Rap Radar and now we're suddenly super fans. Like, no, I heard a song about you. It was cool or whatever, but like, that's not where you're going to gain your fan base. It's the content. It's the personality content that does. So that's one thing I will say, like, everyone's pressed about playlisting. It's not going to blow you up. Like TikTok will blow you up before a playlist will. So
I think it's kind of the final piece to the puzzle, right? You need to have all those other foundational things in place. Know who your audience is, know who you're talking to them, already built that up, get a little bit of press, get some other people talking about you, get some other collabs under your belt, do some shows, and then it's like, cool, you have all these other things in place. The big playlist, that's fuel to the fire, right? Like that should be the main focus, because you need, in order, I always look at it this way too, like in order for you to really be successful, you got to be able to perform live, right? And if you don't have those other things in place, like I was just talking about, you're not going to be a great live performer, and you're just going to be a flash in the pan, right? You're going to make a little bit of money off your playlist and you're going to get a couple in there, but you know how hard that is to continue to sustain that? Like, unfortunately, Lil Nas X is never going to be able to do that. We are only going to know him for that one song because that song was so big. It was so big, right? And it was just everywhere. Not that it was a fun song, but there was nothing to it. There was nothing to
it. It wasn't even a good song. So it wasn't a timeless song. Let's throw it that way. It wasn't a timeless song. It went and
it's fun, right? It was fun, and that was the thing. But it was so much for him all at once. It's like, you saw him perform at the Grammys and it was like, oh man, this guy was really not ready for like any of this stuff. Cause like 6 months ago, he was like in his basement, like, what am I going to do? And again, all this other stuff needs to be in place so that when it is time for the playlist, that's fuel to the fire and you already have it going. And too often we're in this hacking culture where we're like, let me just get on this playlist. And that's the answer. It's like, that's not the answer.
Artist development that we had a very long time ago that's missing now because social media has catapulted a lot of these artists into a stardom that they're not ready for.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's the negative side to technology, right? It's lowered the barrier for entry where so many more people can make music, but because of that, now you have a lot of not great stuff out there, and it's hard for the great things to stand out, or you have to work harder in order to be able to do that because you have these other people hacking it and then getting on, and then everyone thinks that is the everyone thinks that what's the phrase I want to use? Everyone thinks that is the rule when that is the exception to the rule.
Right.
It's like, that's not it. That's not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on, the Kanyes, the Jays, the Eminems who have been here for 20 years. It's like the Lil Waynes, like, what are they doing? What did they do? Obviously the game is completely different, but they've been able to sustain. So you have to look at, hey, you've been around here forever. How can I take that ethos and merge it with what is going on today? Because you do need those tools today, but you also need to have that mindset and understanding of like how to make it last.
Right. I always ask them that. I'm like, what is your longevity? What is your goal here? What type of artist are you trying to be? Because there are some artists that want to be, the mainstream Beyonce superstardom. And there's some people that just want to be Tyler, the Creator. They want to do their own thing, make their own movement and music, have their own stardom, but it's not mainstream. They're still a niche artist, and that's fine. There's a lot of money to make in a niche audience, and I don't people get that.
Exactly. Especially now,
Right.
everything is its own niche, and like go deep before you go wide.
Right.
So yeah,
Because those
couldn't agree
people,
more.
that cult following is always like Tyler, the Creator fans are very special type of fans. They're going to follow that man wherever it is that he goes, and they're going to advocate for him. This small group of people. He doesn't need, you know, Drake superstardom, like his mainstream of like type of things. He doesn't need that to become like who he is. He's still successful. And I don't think artists understand that there's different levels of success or different levels of avenue of just like superstardom. Like you don't have to be Beyonce. You can be Tyler.
and it's a superstar to a certain person,
right?
Like, you know, a superstar is kind of like an old word at this point now, right? It's there's only a couple of people that are able to do that. It's like, just be a superstar for like your fans. Like that's what you need to worry about. And you could making 6 figures a year off your music is like, that's amazing. Too many people
it's unheard of. So if you can do that, like off of the 100, there's 100 fan thing. I've seen it before, like the 100.
Yep.
You can get 100 fans to spend X amount of dollars on you. You're making X amount of money, and that's more money than most independent artists are making in 5 years of doing art. So
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, appreciate the combo. Coming down to time here. I like to save a little, you know, kind of plug section at the end here. So yeah, what are you working on that you're excited about? Where can people get at you? And then lastly, what would the name of your personal playlist be?
Okay, so super excited for my show Behind the Bay. It is on Instagram Live right now, but we've just been picked up by Twitch. So we're moving over to the Move Forward platform. So I'm very excited for that. It's gonna be on Tuesday. So if you're interested in R&B music discovery, it's the show for you.
There you go.
A playlist that my personal playlist. I have a personal playlist called In the Mood, and it's actually empty right now because I've been working on it. But like, if I had a personal playlist, it would just always be called In the Mood for whatever it is that the songs of the playlist are.
Right. There you go. And feel free to shout out the socials too, so people can get at you.
Of course, you can follow me at Krista Cat, or RnBae. Follow RnBae. That's more fun. RnBae is really more fun than I am. So RnBae Collective on Instagram and Twitter. It's the purple dot. You can't miss it. It's the only purple thing. So
there you go. Okay. Again, appreciate the time. You know, glad to hear about the Move Forward Twitch thing. That's awesome. That's with Alex, right?
Yes, Alex is amazing. Like he calls me every other day to make sure like my shit's in order, and I love that.
Yeah. He's a good dude. Known him for a number of years, throwing a bunch of parties in the city. But yeah, that's awesome. Great to hear. We'll definitely be checking that out. And yeah, can't wait to get up at some point in the future and catch up on everything.
I know. Again, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye. Have a good one.
Bye. You too.